"Let's just do it," Josh said. "It'll take us 5 minutes. If we don't find the money, we go back to watch the fireworks." The kids crept under the yellow tape. They were concealed in Tyrone's dark shadow. The rubber wedge was holding the door open an inch. Josh removed it and swung the door open. "I can't see anything," Dink said. "How can we search in the dark?" "Wait," Ruth Rose said. She pulled a small flashlight from her pocket. She flipped it on and aimed the beam past the folded steps into Tyrone's belly. The table and rug were still off to one side. The compartment lid was up and the space was still empty. Then Ruth Rose shut off the light. Dink pulled down the steps and they scrambled up into Tyrone's belly. Dink folded the steps back while Josh eased the door shut. They were in a dark, stuffy cave. "It's roasting in here," Josh's voice complained from the darkness. Dink was on his knees. One arm rested against the small table. The compartment that once held the duffel bag was in front of him, but he couldn't see it. "Let's get this over with," Dink said. "I'd like to get back to the fireworks before my folks know we're gone." Ruth Rose flipped on her flashlight and shone it around the small space. "Okay, Josh, show us the secret hiding place," she said. "It wouldn't be right out in plain sight," Josh said. "Look for someplace no one would think of." On his knees, Josh shuffled around to face the rear legs. They were attached to the rest of the body with large bolts. "I bet those legs are hollow," he said. Josh felt around and, sure enough, was able to stick his arm down inside one leg. "Nothing down there," he said. Dink examined the other leg, but there was nothing hidden inside that one either. "What about up inside his head?" Ruth Rose asked. Her light followed the cables up Tyrone's chest and neck. At the top, only a dark hole showed where the head was. "Let's find out," Dink said. He stood up and tried to reach his hand up to Tyrone's head cavity. "I'm not tall enough." "Wait a sec," Josh said. He lifted the laptop computer off the table and set it on the floor. Then he slid the table over to Dink. Dink climbed onto the table and reached again. This time his arm was inside Tyrone's head. He moved his hand around in the space. "All I feel are the wires that come from the computer," he said, "but my arm isn't long enough to reach all the way." "Could I fit in there?" Ruth Rose asked. "Probably," Dink said. "The head is hollow." Josh giggled. "Like yours," he said. "Let me go up," Ruth Rose said. "I'll stand on the table, then you guys boost me." Ruth Rose and Dink traded places. Josh held the flashlight in his mouth as he and Dink lifted Ruth Rose up Tyrone's throat. She disappeared into the head with only her feet sticking out. Then her feet vanished and they saw her face peering down at them. "There's nothing up here but a little speaker attached to those wires," she said, "and a bunch of teeth." Josh flashed the light around the walls. "I don't see any place else you could hide a pile of money," he said. "So what should we do?" Dink asked. "First, get some air in here," Josh said. He handed Dink the flashlight and reached for the door. Dink shut off the flashlight. "Don't open it too wide," he said. "I don't feel like getting arrested for breaking and entering a dinosaur." Josh shoved the door. It didn't move. "Help me, Dinkus, it's stuck." Both boys leaned their shoulders against the door and pushed. "The door must have locked when we closed it," Josh said. "We forgot to wedge it open with that rubber thing." Dink flipped on the flashlight and aimed the beam up at Ruth Rose. "If I hand this to you, can you shine it out through the mouth? If you yell, someone might hear you." She shook her head. "The mouth is closed." "We have to try something," Dink said, waving the flashlight around. "I'm not staying in here all night." "Got it," Josh said. "I think I know how to boot up Dean's computer. If I can make Tyrone's mouth open, we can yell for help through the microphone and speaker." "No one would hear us over the fireworks noise," Ruth Rose said. "But you gave me another idea, Josh. If you can open Tyrone's mouth, maybe I could climb out that way." "Ruth Rose, Tyrone's head is too high off the ground," Dink said. He looked at Josh. "Is there anything we can make a ladder out of?" Suddenly, Josh grabbed the flashlight from Dink's hand. He shone it around the walls until the beam fell on the row of hooks. "I thought so," Josh said. "What?" Dink said. Josh reached out and grabbed a coil of rope. "This," he said. "We can use it to lower Ruth Rose out of Tyrone's mouth to the ground." Dink looked up at Ruth Rose. "Do you think you could?" Ruth Rose nodded. "Tyrone's mouth is pretty big." "Like Josh's," Dink said, grinning at his friend. "Very amusing," Josh said. He passed the flashlight to Dink, then sat in front of the laptop. He turned it on, then tapped a few keys. Several icons appeared on the screen. One of them was labeled Tyrone. Josh clicked on it, and a window appeared showing a list of choices. One of the words was mouth. Bingo, Josh said. Get ready, Ruth Rose. Josh clicked on mouth. A second later, Dink heard a grinding sound. It worked, Ruth Rose yelled. Tyrone's mouth is opening.